Martha, it's so good to talk with you again. I know over the years our audience has been able to, at least at the holidays, enjoy the Christmas music you sent to us for our show. We have played it to death, I think, on this station.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thanks, Ernie. I appreciate that.
It is wonderful to know that the Motels are still out there. For you, is it surprising after all these years that there's still so much love for this band?
It's quite humbling, actually. You know, it's so still hearing, at least, you know, like Only Lonely, Suddenly Last Summer. Those things are still going on, and people are in total control. Just like Got Used in the Bear, you know, like. People, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, it's very humbling, and I'm very delighted by it. And the Motels, like this band that I have now, which is the newest incarnation of the Motels, but the newest incarnation of, we've been together 20 years now.
Wow.
20 years, and we have a new album coming out that's so crazy, you're going to love it. It's called Escape from Planet Earth, and it's like a sci-fi musical. It's crazy.
Oh.
No, the Motels aren't going anywhere real soon, except maybe to your town.
Yes, which you will be here Saturday night. We're so excited.
Yes.
Before we get into all about what's going to happen at the concert and all of that stuff, I want to go back to those earlier songs you were just talking about. And scary as it is when we keep hearing these anniversaries coming up of 40 years since that song and 40 years since this song.
Uh-huh.
After all these years of singing them, when you sing them, do they mean something different to you now? Do the lyrics come across differently? Do you discover new things in what you wrote?
The thing that people don't understand about performing songs is that they literally, you know, I've heard people say, oh, God, I've been singing this for 30 years or whatever. It's never the same, ever. Every night you're in a different venue. You're with a different audience. You're with you know, the weather's different. It's like, it's not the same song, and everything plays into that. And so, you know, I look at it in an audience and I go, there's possibly people that have never heard this song, you know? I mean, it's possible.
Yeah.
So you play to that. So you know, if I listen to it over and over again, which I don't, but it would sound the same, but not when you perform it, because it changes every night. So. But
the actual message, what you wrote when you wrote this music, the thoughts that were in your head, the experiences you were having, were those of a much different person at a much different point in their life?
Hell yeah.
So revisiting those lyrics, do they mean something different to you?
I don't know that they necessarily mean something different, but I think I have more insight on what the hell I was talking about at the time. Because I'm such a stream of consciousness writer that I very seldom know what the hell I'm talking about when I do write something. I just sort of open the floodgates and let whatever comes pour out, and then I try to edit it. But a lot of times it's not till years after that I even start having a concise feeling of what the hell I was talking about. You know, and I'll look back and I'll go, oh, I get it now. Because you get retrospect about the time you were living. Sometimes when you're in the middle of chaos, you don't see the chaos because you're in the middle of it, you know,
right.
forest from the trees. But you get a little distance, and all of a sudden you're like, that's what I was writing about. I see. Yep. So in that way, yes, they have whole different meanings. And do I put that into the performance of them? I don't know necessarily, but I know that my performance has changed just because of who I am now as compared to who I was then. So the performance has changed, definitely, I think.
When you talk about the writing, back in 2020, you came out with I Have My Standards, which was a solo album you did, with an essence of Standard, the Great American Songbook, even though those are all new songs you wrote. I'm curious, in writing for a project, do you think of it differently if you're writing for a solo for yourself or something for the Motels, or do you just write and then see what you have?
I just write when the inspiration hits me. I'm not one of those people that's I'm going to sit down and write every day, and I'm going to do. I'm not that at all. In fact, I'll go months and months and months without writing a tune, and then the inspiration will hit, and all of a sudden they'll do just like the muse will just drag me around, beat me up for a while, and songs will pour forth. The Standards album, or I have my standards. They're not really standards because they're new, but those, actually, they're not new. They're over time, over the years. I mean, like, for example, Mr. Gray, I wrote that when I was 19.
Oh, wow.
On a camping trip. Do not ask me how this happens. But, yeah, so these songs have been, and I just had amassed, I don't sit down and write jazz songs all the time, which, but over the years, there's enough of them where I said, you know what, there's a bunch of these. Maybe I'll put a collection. And that was the first album I ever put where I went, these are all going to be like mid-tempo slow songs. I'm not going to try to mix it up with like here's a jumpy one and we're just going to make a mood record. This is all going to just sound kind of like either slow or mid-tempo, kind of like more dreamy. And then I have a whole bunch of jazz-esque songs that are kind of up and crazy that I wanted to do a follow-up album. But hey, I will eventually in between other projects and things. Right now, I'm suffering from a lot of baby goats.
Yeah, we'll talk about the ranch in a minute. But I'm also curious, with technology where it is, you have your own recording studio. You can go in and lay down something, I guess, whenever you feel the urge. How different is that than back in the 80s or even in the 70s when to get something recorded was a monumental task?
Well, first of all, you're talking to the wrong person because although I have some stuff around that you could record with, I am not that person. I tried to do the computer recording back when it first came out, and I just thought it was stupid because it took longer to, record the vocal, change the vocal, do this and that, than to just sing it again, so I kind of didn't ever. And plus, I'm technically just really challenged. So everything that I write pretty much is sit down with an acoustic guitar or a piano and plunk it out. And then I have the luxury of these boys that I work with that are super fast and great at that stuff. So I'll send them a track or just, record it on my phone, literally. And, just me singing to a, badly played something or other. And then it'll come back as a spectacular piece of music. So I have this thing now that I talk about because on the new album especially, which is so lush and beautiful and so full. I mean, it is like it's a big old musical project. It really is gorgeous. And I say that I'm basically the skeleton. I'm the frame. And there's the muscle and the brains and the tissue and they're everything that makes this what it is. I'm just sort of the scaffolding so it's pretty cool.
Talk to me a little bit while we're still in this area about your voice. And what I love about it, last time I heard you sing live is, wow, that voice still sounds wonderful. You've taken good care of your instrument. And I'm kind of curious your thoughts on things like auto-tuning and the way pop music sounds today. From where I sit, I feel like it strips away some of the color and character of a real singer singing out. Your thoughts?
Yeah, there's a thing that, and I'm sure it happened for various reasons, but the MP3 probably has a lot to do with it, and the compression and the this and that. There is a sound now to kind of everything across the board. Auto-tuning became not, what was Cher and I Believe, it became not just because that was an accident, as near as I can figure. What auto-tune does is like if you're off, it will find the note that you need to be on, and you tell it which key and what this and that, and it'll put you in the right place. If you're off enough, it'll get confused and go back and forth between notes, which is what happened in there. When I believe, that thing. But then it started being used just as like a blanket over everything. So it definitely, it's like any filter you put on music. If you just run everything through, a fuzz tone, everything's going to sound fuzzy. If you run it through auto-tune, everything is going to sound auto-tuned, which it kind of does. So, and I think there's times that I will use it on like a note or two in my stuff, I will say, please fix that word there, because we can't get together and be in the same room all the time. I'm up in Oregon and they're down there, so it does happen. But I think it's when it's used just as a filter, basically, and you just run people through. I don't know that people can't sing anymore. I don't think that's the case. I'm sure there's really great singers out there, but I think that it's a thing that's just done in the studio. But fads come in the studio in and out of just like everywhere else. It's like fashion almost.
Yeah.
I remember in the '80s it was the snare drum, like the snare drum, the gated snare drum was like the thing, to the point where I never even wanted to hear another snare drum. It was like, ugh. But, it's just the flavors.
I started off that rambling question talking about how great your voice is held up. What do you do to take care of that?
I scream at coyotes at night. I have no idea. I have never been literally a singer per se. I mean, I don't warm up. I would never take lessons. I don't know. I'm lucky. I'm Welsh. I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah.
It has been fine. I did quit smoking in 2016. That was good.
Oh, absolutely.
That was a good thing. But other than that, I don't know.
Well, talk to me a little bit about the pandemic and its impact on you. I did read somewhere where you were like, to quote you, "I'm having a little bit too much fun just being home." Was that an interesting break for you after all those years of being out and touring?
Yeah, I realized a lot of things. One, that touring's really hard. Performing's great. Mm-hmm. Touring is really hard because the fact of the matter is you get to perform, tops an hour, for my band, about an hour and a half is like our big show for us. And these, sometimes down to like half hour. But it's the 3 days it takes to go. Like we just played the Cruel World Festival, which was a half an hour set with a bunch of other great bands. But, you have to leave the day before because you can't trust the airlines to get you their day of. Those days are gone. So it's at least 3 days to do a half an hour's work,
Wow.
And nobody gets that until you're actually doing it. And then you're like, hey, geez, so what? And most of the time you're sitting on a plane or you're sitting in the back of a car or you're sitting backstage waiting, sound check is, they usually have sound checks like hours before, like, let's sound check at 3 and then you'll go on at 10. And I'm a girl that has two speeds. I'm either doing something or I'm asleep. So,
So when it came time to get back out there after the pandemic, were you a little like, oh, do I have to go do this again? Or was it exciting to get back?
It's always wonderful to be with my band and to play with these guys. That is always just a super treat. On the other hand, part of me just said, you know what? I think I should be getting a little more money for this. The other two things that happened is I got my pension, I got Social Security, so I don't necessarily have to go out, which was the case before, and which is that makes it tough, and so I just asked for more money, and because it's hard, and I am 73, so hey.
Wow, I would not have predicted that when you said that. It caught me off guard there. But I'm sure it catches you off guard when you say it, too.
No, that's like, it's whatever. I don't, age is completely subjective, as like most things in the world. And, I feel better now than I have for most of my life. And that's mostly psychologically. I'm in a good place. It's like, I've been through a lot of crazy stuff, and it seems to be kind of an oasis right now, and I'm taking advantage of it because I know life, and life, she's a funny one. She likes to, she'll lull you into a false state complacency and then kick you in the old,
Well, talk to me a little bit about the Abducted by the 80s tour. If I'm not mistaken, is this a little more artist-driven than other tours like these?
Yes. I mean, I've been on a lot of 80s things where it was basically come out, do your hits, go, it's like stacking, like, just hits, and not any deeper than that in terms of tracks. And, there's not a lot. I mean, there's a lot of artists, but, not a ton that have, 20 hits,
Right.
There's some that do. I mean, Rolling Stones are going out again, right? Yep. That's awesome.
But you got together with Wang Chung, Men Without Hats, and Naked Eyes. We're going to get you, Wang Chung, and Naked Eyes here to put together this tour where you all get a little more time on stage, a little more time with the audience.
Yeah. That's the beauty of this tour, and that's why. And actually, Wang Chung had a lot to do with it, and their people. And we had gone out with them before the pandemic, and I love those guys. As a matter of fact, Nick and I are possibly collabing at least on one tune that he started. He asked me, and I said I'd love to. So because I adore those guys, and we have so much fun, and they're just such wonderfully funny gentlemen and sweethearts and great musicians. I mean, when back in the day, Live and Die in L.A. was one of my favorite of all time, right? You know.
Were you guys all friends back then and came back together? Did you get to know each other in the years since? How did all this come together?
No, I hadn't. I did not know them back in the day at all. And it's funny because you would think that it would be one big happy family, but I think when you're young and trying to make it, it's more ego than happy family, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Everybody's trying so hard to make their own mark that they don't necessarily want to go hang out with everybody else. They're just, you know, in the studio trying to get it right, you know.
Yeah. Well, we're excited that we're going to have you all here in our area over in Katy this coming weekend. And then also you're going up to Dallas right after that. So that's great.
Yep.
Before I let you go, when should we expect the new album to drop?
I'm hoping this year. I'm not sure when exactly, but we're actually mixing right now. So because it is a very elaborate project, I hope it'll be this year. It's been about 5 years in the making so far. So.
Martha, as always, thank you so much for talking with us. Truly a pleasure.
Ernie, you are the best, and I can't wait to see you and hug it up.